I'll take that maybe down a little different path. Again, you know, when I left East Texas, Mom told me, don't forget where you came from. And, you know, at that point in time, I thought, yeah, I know where you're at. That's not what she meant. Is, you know, don't go down there and be successful with whatever, financially, relationships, big houses, hunting ranches, all that stuff. Stay rooted around who you are, is what she was saying, I believe. And I think that gives me perspective in my responsibilities at Holt. That, I mean, I already mentioned those technicians, those parts warehouse people. They're the lifeblood of our organization, right? And we've got about, I don't know, right at 4,900 employees now. We've grown, just been so blessed.
Folks, thanks for joining us again today for another episode of There Is More. There is more. There's more to who you are than your street address. There's more to who you are than what car you drive or what neighbor you live in, what town you live in. That more that we are is what the Lord Jesus Christ, alive in us, can bring forth. And just love hearing these stories from men who, nobody's trying to be a super saint or super spiritual or say we're perfect, we've got all the answers, but we're hearing some stories of some men where the Lord is making a difference in their life and they're looking to it. And we got one today, and I'm looking forward to hearing Bert Fulgium. Bert, welcome, buddy.
Good afternoon, Pastor Walker.
God bless you. Glad to have you with us. Now, just a brief introduction that I'll give, and then I want to just kind of step into how we got from where you were in a pastor's home, preacher's home, to being the senior VP at Holt Caterpillar here in San Antonio, one of the most successful businesses in our city, and one that has been used to a large degree to help our community, to be a part of the good things of San Antonio has been Holt Caterpillar. And you are right there, right under the younger Peter Holt.
That's right.
You guys are good friends as well as working partners.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit. How did you? Where'd you grow up? What was life like for you in the preacher's home?
Yeah, and again, I'll start with it's an honor to be here and be asked to do this today, and I mean that sincerely. You know, Pastor Walker, everybody has a story, right?
Everybody does.
And I have my story, and you know, I don't think it's that special. God's blessed me beyond my wildest dreams, my wildest imagination. But I'm just a good old country boy from Northeast Texas, south of Longview, little community, Beckville, Texas, lignite mining communities where I actually started the 6th grade. So, you know, I'll start right there, and graduated high school there, and there was. In my viewing point at that time of the world from a career perspective, I felt like there were two things as a young man that I could do, and that was go to college or go to work for the lignite mines, right? Those were great paying jobs, great benefits, and a lot of folks, male and female, did that. And so I applied. And
how old were you? Were you right out of college?
I was coming out of high school, graduating high school, so I was 18 years old. Yeah. And so I applied, and that wasn't where God wanted me to go. And so
how'd you know?
Well, because they didn't call me for an interview, so I knew immediately that that's not where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so I went to college my first year, and I went to USC.
And USC, like Southern California?
Oh,
USC.
No, David. No, I'm sorry. It was the University of Southern Carthage. So, Panola Junior College.
All right.
Yeah. PJC, good old PJC. And so I thought I I started out, I wanted to be an electrical engineer. Don't ask me why, just I thought that was going to be a great path for myself. And so I did 1 year of college. I muddled through it, but college was not for me at that point in time in my life. And so I had some friends that were doing electrical work, industrial, so not residential or commercial like big, our first job. So I joined up forces with them, and we went to Blytheville, Arkansas. And I was an electrician's apprentice. And so I never became, the electrical engineer, but I did become a journeyman electrician.
Like that. Yeah.
So,
and you were liking that? You were liking working with your hands, figuring out the
yeah,
electrical part of it?
I did. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Then I met my wife, Shelly, and I was back home. No, she's from Hallsville, Texas. I think you know exactly where that is.
Goodness.
Just a little east of Longview there. But I was back home. My buddies and I were back home, and we were, whatever, it was Christmas, or I don't even remember when it was. And so I met Shelly, and I thought, man, I kind of like this young lady. I've got to figure out how to get back to East Texas. And so I did, and I applied, and I got into the oil and gas industry, midstream, gathering process, whatever.
Okay, now when is this? What year is this, generally speaking? 70s? We 70s or 80s?
No, this is going to be
90s?
Late 80s.
Late 80s.
Late
okay.
80s.
All right.
Or about 90. And so I actually applied and went to work in oil and gas, and I became not only an electrician, but an instrumentation and electrical technician. So an I&E tech. So you keep the plants running, you keep the compressors running, you're kind of that person. And I moved into supervision at a younger age, moved into management, and I always thought that, I can, and nothing wrong with that. Blue collar, I love it. I have a great appreciation for it. We have, I have 1,500 or so technicians, mechanics at Holt Cat right now.
Yeah.
And they are the lifeblood of our organization, 100%.
Yeah.
But I thought I wanted to do more. I just didn't know what that was. And at the time, I was working in oil and gas, but I was working with engineers, lawyers, attorneys, MBAs. And I thought, I think I can do this. I need to go back to school. Never fully committed to it until I had my daughter. And I get a little emotional about that. When we had Peyton, that's when I committed to furthering my education. And so I went to Laterno University, got my business degree in my undergrad studies, and then I went to Texas A&M Commerce to do my graduate studies. And so in between, while I think I started my MBA when I went to work for Holt, started as a service manager, and just worked my way around the organization. And I've been down here in South Texas now for 15 years.
Wow.
And
you've been
very
used to
blessed.
spinning a lot of plates, keeping a lot of plates spinning at the same time. So you were married, had a daughter, and then you were also getting education done and having to keep milking the refrigerator too,
That's right.
while all that was going on.
You had to pay the bills.
Yeah.
There's this thing called debt, and you have to service it.
Yeah.
As you know.
Absolutely.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, I like finance. And so I was, in my MBA, I was working toward a concentration in finance. I was far enough along in my career that I knew I was not going to be a CFO, but I just liked that, enjoyed it for my own personal finances. And so Nash David came along, and I figured out real quick, I made the decision that wasn't as important to me finishing that concentration as it was of finishing school just in general. So I said, nope, I'm done with that. I'm not going to take any more. I'm just going to finish up. And so I did. But I've been down here in South Texas for for 15 years working for the Holt family. I can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
just great people. And, you know, and then I've, you know, as you grow, I still have a few friends from East Texas, but John Meyer, and there's another one or two that, you know, John's the reason why I mentioned him, but I made some lifelong friends down here, yourself, and, you know, so God, and here's the thing that when I actually, when Shelly and I, when we decided to move down here, prayed about it. I didn't want to do it. I was an East Texas guy, friends, family there, and I never will forget when we made the decision, Shelly and I collectively. I called my best friend the next morning, sitting in the whatever gym that I was working out at, about 5:30, and I called him. I said, "Hey, we're going to South Texas, TA," and I just bawled like a baby.
Really? When you told him that, when you said it, then you started.
It made it real.
Yeah.
It made it real.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, this has been the best thing that I could have ever done for my family, for myself. So again, very, very, very blessed.
You are the Lord has blessed you to put you in a great organization.
Yeah.
And its strength is really from the family values, I would think, right on up. And that's just. Now, Bert, you grew up. Your daddy was a pastor.
That's right.
A preacher.
That's right.
And I just enjoy asking. So the significant influences on your life.
Yeah.
You know, before you ever got to making these decisions, somebody had to help you with a road you go down to finally make a wise decision. You know, and who are some of those that, or maybe just one or two that you think of, just really influenced you?
You know, parents, you know, that's the constant, right? But I'll talk about a couple that's not my mother or father, but I did. My dad was a Pentecostal pastor for years, and last church he pastored there in Longview on Alpine Road. But I will say his father, my papa, was in my very formidable, you know, days when I was young. Papa was the guy. You know, grew up, and he lived in northwestern Louisiana, so an hour away from us, an hour and 15 minutes, north of Shreveport, Louisiana. Yeah. And his deal was, I mean, he was a devout Christian. I mean, I never saw the man say a cross word to anybody. And my wife and I were actually talking last night about it. I don't know that, and my mom will attest to this, that, you know, you couldn't find anybody to say, you know, anything cross about him. He was just that kind of fella, you know. Yeah. And so crappie fishing and squirrel hunting, that's what I grew up doing with him. Yeah. And, you know, times were a lot less complex back then, obviously for me, because I was just a kid. But, you know, one of the big event every summer for me was getting to go to Papa's place, Papa, and he always on the front porch, all the cane poles, you know, he had some nails, and he'd keep those cane poles up there. Well, I had my own pole, but every summer I got to pick out my own cork, and that was the big, you know, you talk about life and, you know, how complex we let it become, but that's how simple it was. And, you know, just to grow up hunting, fishing with him, and you know, a lot of people play dominoes today, and it's called 42, was a little different game that I learned to play with Papa, and that was the moon. And you could actually play it with 3 people or 4. I think 42, you have to have 4, but anyway, a lot of great memories with my Papa. And then I'll carry it a step further in my professional career. There's a couple things. There's professional development, right? Let's go to school, let's do all that. And there's personal development. And it's not so much what we do, but how we do it sometimes. And there's a gentleman, Larry Mills, that has been my mentor at Holt. He grew up with my bosses, Peter John Holt, with his father in the business. And Larry has helped me immensely with my personal development, whether it's self-awareness, self-management, and I could go on and on about
What
that.
was he strong about? Because you've had lots of different options for people to influence your life as much as you've gone through. What stands out in your mind about him that you wanted to be like, or you wanted him to help shape you into?
Great question. I never wanted to be like Larry. I wanted to be like Bert, whatever Bert was going to be like, Right. But so we get into personality profiling there at Holt, and it helps us understand how to work with each other and better, if you will, and understand why David does what he does and why Bert does what he does sometimes. And I think, for me, it was a lot of the lack of self-awareness. We can't have self-management if we don't have self-awareness around it. And so I never will forget, I asked Larry, Larry, he's big shot, and I was a regional manager or something. This has been 20 years ago. And I knew Larry worked with people, and it intrigued me. I was like, I might get something out of this. But I also, being an opportunist, like we talked over lunch, I thought it's not going to hurt for me to know this guy either. Good politics, bad politics, right? And so I asked for a meeting with him. We sat down, a little bit of small talk, and he said, well, what can I do to help you, Bert? I said, well, I'd like for you to be my mentor. That's a big deal, everybody's got a mentor, or so I thought. And he said, you know what, and we knew each other. He said, you know what, I would absolutely love to do that. And I thought, good, check that box, meeting done. No. He said, well, what would you like to work on? I was like, what? I don't know. I don't know. He said, well, sounds to me like you're not very prepared for this meeting. I was like, oh gosh, Now Larry is like my papaw. Maybe that's why I took to him now that we're talking about it. Absolutely the kindest individual that I've ever known. So, for whatever reason, God connected us. And the thing about Larry that I love and that I absolutely despise is I want answers. If I ask you a question, give me an answer. Larry answers my question with a question.
With another question.
Yeah.
Throw it back at you.
Yeah. And he lets me come to arrive at whatever conclusion I need to arrive at. So frustrating at times, but if he just told me, I may not be so open to accepting what he had to say. But if it comes through my mind, out my mouth, probably going to buy into it. So, those two, Papaw and Larry, have really. That's who I'd have to go back to.
As the ones that just helped to shape.
Absolutely.
Well, okay, so Papaw, I had a Papaw.
Did you?
Granny and Papaw.
Okay.
And they lived in Jackson, Mississippi, as a matter of fact. So I did see them from time to time as a kid growing up. But it was your Papaw. It had to be the consistency of how you knew he felt about you.
Yeah.
That he loved you.
Yeah.
That he, that sink or swim, he got
He was
your
there.
back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And it's my dad, he was there were nine children. He was the baby of 9. And most of them, they moved, here, there, and yonder, dispersed across the country. But we were close. And I can't tell you how many, it had to be 25 or 30 grandkids. But I was around him a lot. And he always made me feel like I was the most special. Now, looking back on that, what I believe is, now that I've got a little more wisdom, not a lot, but a little more from back in those days, he made every one of those grandkids feel that way. You know, special guy, special man. Yeah.
Well, and so that there've been, you can't, there's no way you can make all 1,500 of your technicians feel like they're the most special person in all of Holt, you know, because you're not going to have that kind of relationship with all of them. But
that's right.
There evidently has been some of what you picked up from those two men that really has carried you forward in how you're looking at what you do in relationships.
You know, I'll take that maybe down a little different path. Again, you know, when I left East Texas, Mom told me, don't forget where you came from. And, you know, at that point in time, I thought, yeah, I know where you're at. That's not what she meant. Is, you know, don't go down there and be successful with whatever, financially, relationships, big houses, hunting ranches, all that stuff. Stay rooted around who you are, is what she was saying, I believe. And I think that gives me perspective in my responsibilities at Holt. That, I mean, I already mentioned those technicians, those parts warehouse people. They're the lifeblood of our organization, right? And we've got about, I don't know, right at 4,900 employees now. We've grown, just been so blessed. But for the perspective that I have of being an electrician, blue collar, working in the heat, working in the cold, working on holidays, getting called out at 2 a.m. in the morning, that is not lost on me.
Yeah, good.
And I think that a lot of times as executives in the corporate world, we don't have that perspective. And I think that helps me to understand what my guys and gals need. You're never, look, I'm not in a popularity contest, but we got to take care of our people. So having that perspective, whether it's, you know, walking out into a shop and talking to Bobby, or sitting in a boardroom, you know, wearing a, you know, a necktie and a jacket, having that perspective has been very, very valuable for me and my people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you this question too, because you I'm sure you're involved, maybe not in all the nuts and bolts, but certainly the significant hires that would be ones that would be direct reports to you, or would be over sort of. The good many young guys and gals that will be listening to this. And I'm always interested to hear someone who is involved in having to oversee and recruit, bring in, maybe not recruit, but you've got to sort out who you're going to hire. And you know, if you're going to have to let somebody go on the basis of what are the, just a handful of significant characteristics that you would look for in a young person, someone you know, stepping into Holt like you did, John did, but somewhere or another, those watching you recognize there were some basic bedrock characteristics about how you're wired. That they could build upon. Go with. What are some of those?
Well, you know, so you have, and I'm fortunate. I don't get to interview a whole lot of people anymore. Because I don't have hardly any turnover, right?
Good.
Now, so that's a good thing. But even some of the folks where we're interviewing beneath my direct reports, I'll get involved from time to time. And what I like to do is we do committees, right? You may interview with 3 folks here, 3 here, and then 2 there, and then they come together, they integrate, and they vote, and what have you. And then, depending on the position, then I like to meet this person. You know, who we bring it on? Internal is a lot for me, is a lot easier, right? I value tenure, I value loyalty. That doesn't mean they're the best person for the job, and that's not what I'm really looking for. But the internals, their body of work. You know, you could take, a lot of people are not comfortable sitting down and having a conversation, especially in an interview. You view it as, you know, a fear. It's a win or loss deal, right? And so a 1 hour interview, I don't think is the best way to judge whether we're going to bring somebody or promote them, what have you. I like to look at that body of work, you know. Tell me about, you know, the highlights of your career here, you know, and you already know, you know, but so that's one. And it's hard when you're bringing somebody external. I mean, you can read a resume.
Somebody you don't have any background with.
Zero background, you know. That's a difficult one. But so some characteristics, though, to answer your question directly, work ethic.
Yeah.
Work ethic. How can you give examples, get stories from people? I want to know, can you grind it out with us? Can you get in here and truly grind it out? Because what we do is not easy, right? It's hard work. It's rewarding work, but it's hard work. So, and I think, you know, and I'm not going to go down the generational path with that. I can't even remember what I am. I'm a gen something pastor, but I'm not going to go down that path. I don't think it's really a generational deal. I just think some people have it, some people don't. I know people my age that don't have it, you know. So that's, and then values, and this is not in an order of priority. I think values is numero uno, right?
Values of what?
Well, is this person morally, you know, are they going to be ethical, right? Are they going to be dynamic, right? And so some of those things, our core business values, excellence, success, dynamic, being ethical. I like to ask questions, and one, if they're not a values alignment with our organization, then it's not going to work. So let's not even go down that path. When I interviewed 23 years ago, I made it to a vice president last interview and had a great conversation. The values were on the wall, and he said, now, Bert, he said, I want you to read those. And I did, and he said, now, if you can't align with that, then you don't even need to come over here. I looked at it, and I said, that's how I was raised. You know, that's who I am. But what I didn't say this, David, but what I thought is, look, man, I'm working for a company right now. We have those written on the wall, and it's a picture on our wall. We don't abide by them. Holt's different. We do. And so our decisions are guided by our values, rooted in our values. And as long as I like to tell people, and I joke, you know, I said, the good thing about Holt is you can't hardly get fired from Holt. You know what the bad thing is? You can't hardly get fired from Holt, you know? So, but values is number one. And then if you can flesh that out, then I think that work ethic would probably be my
you
second.
know that your work ethic statement is, I mean, that's a very strong and clear direction, that will you work. But it's also a piece of that, will you work under authority? Will you work under, if you're going to be handing authority to somebody, you're going to have to be satisfied that they will come under your authority. That whoever's in charge, they're able to take orders, they're able to take directives, and there may be discussion, obviously, but when it comes down to it, they will come under that authority. So,
and there's I like to think about it in working with my team, and everybody knows who the boss is when you're walking around.
You're not having to force it.
You don't have to tell people you're the boss. If you are, then there's a deeper problem there, right? Yeah. And so the way I think about it is with everybody, I've got, I don't know, 3,000 people, give or take, depending on the day, on my team. And I look at it in these two terms. It's commitment or compliance, right?
Okay.
Now I can sit up here and let me expand on that.
All right.
I can sit up here and have 3,000 people comply with what I say we need to do.
Coming from you.
Coming from
idea.
me, he's that senior vice president guy sitting up there in that big office, and Bert said, so therefore we're going to do it. I think it works a lot better if you have commitment. Mm-hmm. I don't have to say. I can work, explain the vision, explain the strategy, right? Get into all the granular tactics, right? And that's my job. That's my job. But when we spoke of how do we bring, what are we looking for when we bring, and when you bring the right people on your team, they can't spell compliance. Mm-hmm. They're committed. Yeah. They just need a little bit of direction. Mm-hmm. So vision, strategy.
But that comes back to that thing of you got to have some kind of an ongoing relationship with them, and they need to have the sense that Papa is going to listen to them.
That's right.
Care for them, and they, you're not going to be slapped down because you picked the wrong cork to put on you.
Absolutely.
And you got that.
Yeah. Well, and Peter helped me several years ago. Big John and I, we took on a project, and we lost money. It's a big deal. Cat dealer never done it, but we lost money. I mean, we lost about $1 million on this 18-month project, right? And I thought, man, I just got to go sit down with the boss and talk to him about this. And I did. And I thought, man, I don't know how this is going to, but I'm going to be honest with him and transparent. That's my job. And he sat back and he said, well, what'd you learn? And I said, I mean, look, this guy is at the time probably 31 years old, Yeah. So I said, well, we learned this and this and this. He said, well, I consider it a success then. He said, if we learn those things and we only lost $1 million, let's go do another one. We'll do better next time.
Yeah, good.
So that helped me. Right. People are we're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes every day, And if we have somebody hitting us over the head, David, then we get to a point of stagnation where we don't want to do anything.
No, that's it.
And I guarantee you, Peter, he wants me making mistakes. Mm. If I'm not making any mistakes, he knows I'm not doing.
Well, you're not trying anything new.
Yeah,
it's not expanding.
Absolutely.
If it's everything we've always done, no mistakes in that.
Absolutely. So that's good. That's how I choose to work with my team. Underneath me, and we have our days, but
sure.
In general and holistically, it works well. It works well.
All right, let me shift gears just a little bit with you. We're going. I won't be keeping you all afternoon, but you have a daughter and a son. You have a wonderful wife who's stood with you through thick and thin.
That's right.
We got some dads listening.
Yep.
Got some dads listening who have grown kids, and
that's right.
You got an almost grown son. He's still in college, but your daughter's out. How do you pray for them? What do you ask the Lord for in those times?
And I mean that's an easy one. I ask God, one, put His hand on them, protect them.
Listen, I hear you. I'm there.
You got me.
Yeah. Well, we have two grown daughters and a grown son, and it can seem like yesterday.
That's right. Time flies.
They were this big and grew up in the church and all that stuff. Shirley and I, we still shake our heads that there'd be times when things being so crazy on Sunday, so many people going on.
Yeah.
And we would assume that I would assume she had picked Evan, our son, up and got him with him. Then we'd find out, I'd get home and nobody had Evan. So where'd he go? You know, we loved him dearly, but you know, being a parent of a small child is a moving target. But being a parent of a grown child, Bert, and that's where we are. Our stage
that's
in
right.
life. So, you know, how are you praying? What are you thinking?
Yeah, and it's you know, one, God just put that protective hand on them.
Cover them.
Just cover them up.
Yeah.
I pray for strength. I pray for wisdom. I pray for audacity. I pray for courage.
Yeah.
And that's and that I just pray over, you know, their relationship with God.
Yeah.
And from there, you know, that's in general. That's pretty much every morning, you know, every night, because you worry about them.
Yeah,
not supposed to worry.
But things come up in their lives that you hear about that are under those categories. Lord, give them wisdom here. Protect them from that.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And so there are specific things, you know, whatever, pick one, you know, God, you know, Nash had a test yesterday. So I'm praying for wisdom, you know, and strength and patience and calm down and slow down, you know, because I know my son, right? He'll rush right through it, you know. Go back and read it again, buddy, you know. So I mean, and but you spoke to our kids getting older, right? Or they are grown, and I want to. And it's not right, but I want to try to control outcomes for them, right? Well, you know that's not right because we're not letting them grow up, right? It's you know, and you think, well, it's out of love, Bert. I'm talking to myself. You know, it's out of love. You know, you want to try to influence this, or they've got to experience life. That's what helps them grow and become adults, and that's how they gain wisdom, right? So, but it's hard for me when I have an opportunity to influence, you know, around their life.
You know, from the Father's perspective, the Heavenly Father's perspective, whose knowledge is absolutely complete, and He looks down on us as His children.
That's right.
And He sees the direction we're headed.
That's right.
And He knows where it's going to end up. And there will be gracious ways, maybe small hints He'll throw at us. Sometimes it's a bigger pothole in the road to slow us down. But seldom does the Lord just absolutely rein us and yank us back.
That's right.
Because He knows, just as you said, there's some things we're going to learn by our failures that we would never learn by nothing but success.
That's right.
You know. So I'm with you there. Brother. I'm with you there. I'm with you there. And I folks, I hope you've been able to pick up from what we've talked about today, some things that are really close to where you're living. One of them is this is a businessman, and at the top of his game in a company that's one of the strongest, if not the strongest, in this whole Bexar County, San Antonio area. He doesn't walk in with a 40-pound Bible around his neck every time you show up at work or get out of your car or your truck to go into work. But the Lord goes with you to work. You have the sense of doing this together with Him in a sense. Some days that's probably more pronounced than other days.
For sure.
I just really want you all to, there is more in the sense that when you realize that I'm not in this job, I've not been given this position just to do it on my own.
No, sir.
That the Lord will say, I'll never leave you and I'll never forsake you. I gave wisdom to Solomon. I can give wisdom to you, you know. And that's then this thing about our relating to people. I asked a very, very successful financial developer, real estate developer in the city just a week or so ago, how important are relationships in what you do? You know, in the deals coming together or the deals you stay away from.
Yeah.
And he just kind of shook his head and says, it's everything.
That's right.
It's everything.
That's
relationships with people you can trust.
That's right.
Relationships with people that you feel like care about you. It's reciprocal kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's what I hear coming out of you, Bert. That's so valuable. And that's why Holt saw that in you, that you were not, it wasn't just about the bottom line all the time.
No.
And that's interesting that that the younger Peter recognized that.
That's right.
It's not about the million that we lost, it's
Yeah.
about what we learned in the process of
For
that.
sure.
Now
For sure.
those are powerful and wonderful kingdom/business principles.
Well, and to tack on to that, I tell my folks it's we're not in the tractor business. We're not in the truck business. We're in the people business.
Yeah, there you go.
It's all about relationships, and I touched on it. Good politics, bad politics.
Yeah.
You know, good politics is the relationships. And I tell folks like, well, how do you do that, Bert? You're going to eat lunch today, right? Well, yeah. Well, pick somebody that you don't have a relationship and go buy them a hamburger.
There you go.
You know? So it's the simple things like that. But yes, we're in the relationship business.
Yeah.
That's what makes it work.
Well, that's why Holt will continue to be successful.
There you go.
Because you care about your people.
That's right.
Folks, thanks for joining us today. We're going to have this guy back, and we'll talk some more about some other things that I know he's involved in and enjoys doing. Wonderful family, wonderful wife, company that he works for. May the Lord bless you with many of those same things. But you just need to understand, it is the Lord who opens the doors up. That in Revelation, it just says about the Lord speaking of himself, I hold the keys of David. I open and no one can close. I close and no one can open. But then he says, I have seen that I've known that you are weak, and that you have little strength, but that you have not denied my name, and therefore I'm going to open a door for you. And they're speaking of doors of earthly opportunity.
Right, right.
The real God of the Bible is not locked up in a Bible. He's not still stuck in a steeple or stained glass somewhere, but he is where we are. He has the ability to open and close corporate doors.
That's
relationship doors. When you let that in and realize that, Jesus said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. I will not leave you as orphans, but I'll come to you. And we're hearing some stories about that today. And I thank you, Bert. Bless you.
Thanks for having me.
Taking the time.
Yes.
And we will see you next time, folks. Thank you for joining us today. God bless you.